But yesterday we learned about the holy temple, which is me and you, and how every Jew is a holy temple. And the main thing of the holy temple was work. The main thing of the holy temple was work. Work. We had to do things. The Kohanim had to do things. It wasn't just a place where you went and this holy mountain where you went and received these amazing revelations. The main thing of the holy temple, it was also that, but the main thing of the holy temple was work. That's why there's two different opinions between the Rambam, Maimonides, and Ramban. What the main thing of the holy temple is it the ark, or where the tablets were, which that's a revelation from above, from God, or was it the mizbeach, the altar on the outside? Like the Maimonides says the main thing was the altar. That was the main thing from the outside, which was work. But in any case, you have to have both of them. And even the temple, the second temple, where the tablets weren't there, they were there. They were just buried down deep in this down deep chambers that King Solomon made when he built the temple. So there has to be both. But we're stressing mainly here the aspect of the holy temple that we are is work. Working. What does work mean? Work means change. Work means change. I think even according to physics, work, energy means change. You change something that's changed. So God put us into the world to change the world. He made Adam, put Adam in the world. And the world then was Gan Eden, it says. The world was perfect. What does it mean was perfect? It was perfectly ready to be fixed up. All the ingredients were there. It's like if you buy a puzzle, all the pieces are there. It's a whole puzzle. That's what and you put it in the world, Avda l'shama, to work on the world. The Avda means to make it better, and the Shamra means that it shouldn't make it worse. Protect it. So here man's in the world. Okay, so one of the main things we have to work on is our heart. Our heart. Our heart is very difficult to change. And why? Because a basic let's say axiom, truth of the heart is I exist. That's the base. I exist, and therefore whatever I want this and I want this and I that. But Hasidus comes and tells us that it's called the animal soul. And then there's a godly soul. And this godly soul feels the truth that God exists. Not only does God exist, but without God's existence, I wouldn't exist. That God is creating me. But this is not what we feel. And that's called work, avodah. Avodah means to work on this false feeling that we have that all there is me. And to have a good feeling that I exist, yes, but I'm being created. And to feel the creator. So that's what's called work. What happens when a person reveals, takes away all the bad things, takes away his false egotism, then there's happiness. Then there's love. It's like a person that's a multimillionaire, he doesn't know it. And as soon as he knows it, then he's rich. All he has to do is just realize what's going on, and then he's rich. So the same thing with us. Okay, so the Rebbe says there's two aspects of this. This is what Aaron did. Aaron inspired the Jewish people. That's Aaron. Nowadays, Aaron and Moshe are both rolled up into one. They're both rolled up into the Moshiach, into the Rebbe, into all the Rebbes of Chabad. They're rolled up. But nevertheless, that's the Aaron part of Moshiach, to arouse the Jewish hearts. How does he arouse the Jewish hearts? So he says it's the same thing what Aaron did, that he went into the holy, not the holy of holies. He went into the holy, and he prepared the lamps. There was the menorah there. Prepared the lamps, and he lit the lamps. Prepared the lamps and lit the lamps. And by doing this, he changed the whole world. I just heard a very interesting story the other day, that there was a very, very unique and a very positive and intelligent, Jew. His name was Rabbi Moshe Weber. He lived in Jerusalem, and he was a Talmudic scholar, but he was a very active person. He was the one that established the putting on tefillin by the wall, he had a lot of trouble in the beginning in order to make it, but now it's, I think, at the biggest tefillin stand in the world. In any case, the Rebbe told him that he should be a teacher in a certain institution. And so he was there and he was very good. But he said, I'm tired of it. I don't want to do it anymore. And the Rebbe wrote him back that if you leave, he said, if you leave your position, he said it'll be a change in the whole entire Maisa Bereshis, and the whole entire creation will be affected. If you leave your position in this yeshiva, it'll be a change in the whole entire creation of the world, the Rebbe said. And the Rebbe did not exaggerate. The Rebbe is not like me or somebody else, just throws words out, exaggerations. The Rebbe, the Rebbe said it, he really meant it. So, but this is based on the idea that really every Jew has an effect on the whole entire world. The entire world. Every little good thing you do, especially good thing, it has a good effect on the whole world. And eventually that's true with every human being, but especially the Jews. So here's Aaron, who's like the super Jew, right? Aaron. And when Aaron lit the candles in the Holy Temple, that was like the super Jewish house, was the temple. That was where God was revealed. So when he did that, that made a change in the whole world. So it changed in the whole Maisa Bereshis. Okay, so the Rebbe says, what was Aaron's main thing? What did he do? He was the one that inspired Jews. Aaron's job was to inspire the Jewish people, to do it on their own. Aaron was sort of like the outer altar, going from below to above, to inspire the Jewish people. And this is especially ruled up in the thing of the menorah. The menorah that was in the Holy Temple was fire. Fire goes from below to above. And the one who was the master, the boss of this fire was Aaron, the Kohen. And there was two things. First of all, to prepare the lamps, and he had to light the lamps. Okay, so that's what we got up to now. And of course, this whole mimer that we're talking about is talking about how God tells Moses to command the Jewish people to bring olive oil, pure olive oil, to Moses, and then Moses would give it to Aaron. That was the question. What's this pure olive oil? It says it has to be crushed up. Excuse me. No, it has to be olive oil that's crushed for the lamp. It says crushed lamor, katit lamor. It has to be crushed up to the lamp, and then this oil, which was crushed up for the lamp, it says it's the first oil. The Rashi explains what does it mean. They would take the grapes, they would take the olives, and they would just press them slightly, and the first little drop that would come out, that was pure olive oil. And then they would crush it, and that was used for other things in the Holy Temple. But that was the pure olive oil that would be used for menorah. They had to bring that to Aaron, and Aaron would light the candles. But first of all, they had to prepare. Okay, so he says, what is this idea of preparing? Remember, we learned this yesterday. Remember, maybe let's do this little paragraph over again. Huh? Do it again. Here we go. Ready? So Aaron, by means of lighting, well, by lighting the menorah, as he brought inspiration and joy into the Jewish souls to serve God. And we talked about in the previous paragraphs where this joy comes from, and it's from the essence of the soul and connecting to God and doing what God, feeling the truth. Okay. Liot gili simcha, that there should be this joy from feeling God. God is creating us, right? And so to feel this, how do we feel it? How do we feel this truth that it's God gave the Torah? And God, I just want to say one more small thing over here. There's a lot of religions in the world, and all these religions have their books, and all of them are lies. All of them, without any exception, they are lies. What does it mean that they're lies? Here we see these religions have billions of people, and that they go according to the religion, and it seems to work. We have these methods. Yes, it's good according to systems of organizing the society and providing spiritual comfort. All the religions are okay. That's all right. Some different, some anyway. But as far as talking about the truth, actually serving the Creator, there was only one time in the history of the world that the Creator himself actually appeared, and was validated that he appeared. Not just some guys came and said, the Lord appeared to me, and everybody believed him. God actually appeared in front of 3 million people and told them what he wants. That's the whole story of the Jewish people. That's why the Jewish people are eternal. People have been trying to destroy us all the time because we know we have the truth. God really did appear to 3 million people, told them what he wants, and all the other religions don't even dare make this claim. I mean, it's such a ridiculous claim that who would make it? It would be easily, disproven. But the Jewish people have been passing this story down for 3,300 years. So that's the idea that it's the truth. When Aaron reveals the truth, he's revealing it not just to the Jewish people, to the whole entire world, that there's a creator that loves everybody. That's the message. There's a creator, and what's the sign he loves everybody? He's creating everybody. He's creating everybody. He's keeping everybody alive. Okay, but it's for the Jewish people to demonstrate this to the world. That's the idea, to demonstrate this to the world. The only truth is the Torah. That's the only truth. Right? That's not to say that science is not true. They solve certain problems, and the other religions also solve certain problems. And society serves, and atheism also solves certain problems in life, that you can get into life. But we're talking about the truth. The truth is something that even if it doesn't solve any problems, even if it makes problems, you do what's true. Right? To stand up against communism in Stalin's Russia was the truth. What did you benefit from? Nothing. That's what happened to the Jews. Right? And the Jews wanted to be religious. He suffered, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. He only got suffering and torture and terrible, and he killed his Hasidim, but he couldn't leave the truth. So that's the idea of truth. And eventually this truth is what's going to make the world a good place. Right? I mean, I don't know if you know, I don't know what's going on, but in the whole world, everybody is at war with everybody else. What's going on, for instance, in Africa is just, everybody's just killing everyone else, and just every nation is on and everybody, they make wars because they suspect the other is going to make a war. So I'll make a war first, and then this guy makes a war with them. You can never tell what anybody's motivations are, if anybody really is interested in peace or truth, if they're just interested in diamonds or oil or what. So the whole world is just in this total state of confusion. Someone has to come and make light and show everyone that there's a God that loves everybody, and that religion is valuable, and that life is valuable, and that religions have their purpose, right? But they're misleading people. And that's the idea of Aaron, to make light in the world, to light the world. And the only ones that can do it, the only way you can do it is by illuminating the Jews. It has to be real. It can't be that some guy just comes and says, believe me, you're going to go to hell. People have to feel it. They have to see it. They have to understand from their own self. It has to come from within them. And that's the idea of preparing the lamps and lighting the lamps. Okay, let's go. Enough forward. We're making so many preparations. There won't be any class. Here we go. That this joy and this feeling of fulfillment and to serve God comes by means of Aaron. That the Jews really feel that God exists, God is creating them, God expects from us, God gave us the Torah. When we do the Torah, we're connecting to the essence of the Creator. To have the joy of doing this true thing, this comes from Aaron. Aaron is the one that lights the candles. He lights the lamps in the temple, the menorah. Liot bechinas ora v'simcha, that there should be light and joy in the whole world, and that's the commandments by means key, because Aaron, who Mishav Roim, Aaron was one of the 7 shepherds of Mefarnasim that they provide, they nourish, or Moshiach, and they draw down to all of the Jewish people from above to below. That makes them feel that they're Jews. That makes them feel that they're Jews. And there's now, somebody just sent me a letter of a soldier. There's a lot of the state of Israel was built on atheism. That was a very basic axiom and principle and foundation in the state of Israel, was that nothing is holy. The land is not holy, the people are not holy, the Torah is not holy, the commandments are not holy. Nothing is holy. Nothing is holy. There's no God, there's no this. That was a very basic thing. And this is in all the education system in Israel and etc. But now they're in the army. And so there's a lot of soldiers in the army that are putting on tefillin and they make minions. And the non-religious soldiers, they see them and these are their best friends. And they see these guys are not religious freaks or fanatics. They're just acting like Jews. And they can't understand what is this thing of acting like Jews. I mean, the whole Zionist idea is Jews are just like everybody else. They're just, for some reason, everybody hates us, but, because we don't have our own country or something. And somebody sent me a letter the other day that one of these non-religious fellows, he decided, why not? He'll put on tefillin. He put on tefillin and he said, suddenly, all of a sudden, he felt like a Jew. And he realized what's been keeping the Jewish people going for these last 3,000 years. It's not religion, it's just the truth. It's just feeling the Creator is good to be a Jew. And he just, it's just it was a healthy feeling. It, like, instead of making him small and little and fanatic, it gave him a bigger outlook on life. You can do anything, you do the same thing you're doing it, but just do it in the way that God wants. In any case, that's Aaron. Aaron draws down this happiness into the souls. Aaron, who aroa, Aaron, he was the shepherd. Umafarnis umamshich, he drew down to all the Jewish people this light and joy, like we said before. And there's two aspects of this: yarochet hanero, to prepare the lamp, to prepare the menorah, and to light the menorah. What does it mean to prepare? And we're talking about preparing the Jewish souls. Okay, we have to always keep going back from the metaphor to what we're trying to learn. Preparing the Jewish souls for this joy. Let's get a second. When I move this thing, so it jumps up a whole. Okay. Yaroch. What does it mean? Aroch means to prepare them. Liot arucha v'shmura, so that they should be prepared and ready in the heart and the soul of a person when he remembers God, his God, in the depth of his mind, the me'omka, the liba, from the depth of the heart. When a person thinks about the greatness of God. What does it mean? You're in the world, there's no necessity whatsoever to believe in God. There's 8 billion people in the world, 9 billion people. There should be 3 times as many people, and none of them really understand what God is. They don't really believe in God. They believe in spirits. They believe in all these different religions. Why? Because we don't see God. To actually feel and see, like the story I just told you about, he put on tefillin and suddenly saw what it meant to be a Jew. To see that God is not a thing, and he's not a person, he's not an angel, he's the Creator, and it's something just so good and so wholesome and so happy. But you have to be ready. In order to do this, to prepare yourself, is you have to think. To think deeply into your heart and to just reveal what's already there. That's the point. It's what's already there. It's not a religious feeling somebody's putting on you. You're just revealing what is there, that the Creator is, the feeling is already there. And it's not a spiritual feeling. It's not a spiritual feeling. It's spiritual in relation to this physical feeling that we always feel. But the feeling of God is a feeling of God that creates the spiritual, creates everything. A tremendous wholesome feeling. This draws down a tremendous joy. That comes from above. And this joy, then that's what Aaron does. The soul is ready. He gives you what to think about. And he prepares the souls that they can accept this joy of God, la'alot at the nefesh, that the soul will want to raise up to the source of God. Ulakasher be'elokim chayim. Hi chaya chayim, this is the life of life, Baruch Hu. Mokar chayim, the source of life. Mokar tainugim, the source of all pleasure. Shalamayla mayla mishtalshas, which is above the whole creation of the world. Lamayla michdei tochel nafshot se'it, above what is in the ability of any soul to bear. This is what's called loving God with all of your mode, with all of your being. Hamid Galel, which is revealed in Kriya Shema. So we say this every day, twice a day, We say Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. It's the motto of Judaism. There's 6 words. It's a sentence in near the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy, the second chapter, whatever, the book of Deuteronomy. And right after it says, listen, Jews, God is our God, God is one. It says you should love God. You should love God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and all of your might. All of your heart means all of your emotions. All of your soul means all of your your intellect. What does it mean, all your might? All your might means above heart and intellect, above your whole being. L'kayim kriya Shema, that's what it means to do what it says in Shema, feeling the oneness of God with all of your being. It is above any understanding, any comprehension, any emotions. Tiknu, but there's a lot of different explanations, but this is one of them. They all go to the same point. Loving God, appreciating God. Tiknu, for this, it says, Pasuki, the sentences of the Zimra, the sentences before we say Shema Yisrael, we say all these sentences from the Psalms of King David, praising God, so that that the greatness of God should be in our throats. And it says, and a double-edged sword is in our hand. What does it mean? Double-edged sword on one hand to chop through the enemy from outside and from inside. Kishat saluta shatz karova. When a person really starts to wanting to pray to God, so you start thinking about God. So all these extraneous thoughts come into your mind. And also, you don't want to think about God. You can go through your whole life never thinking about God and get along very fine. Like I said, there's 8 billion people that do it. Why should I think about God? But when you really decide you want to think about your Creator, then you have to break through. You have to break through your normal pattern of thought and your normal feelings. Says this idea that there's what to think about, and that we have to break through our own egotistical emotions and actions and reactions and thoughts and etc. That's the preparation of our soul first to overpower our selfishness and our egotism, our falsehood, and our paying too much attention to the world, to get rid of any monea or me'akvim mibayas umechutz from inside and out. That's the double-edged sword. The double-edged sword means one edge cuts away our negative attitudes, our selfishness about ourselves, and the other one cuts away our negative reactions to the world. From inside and outside. That's what it means in Erevat Boker. Aaron, it says that he prepares these lights to be lit from the evening until the morning. The next sentence says that he lights them constantly. So does he light it constantly, or does he light it from the evening to the morning? So Rashi says, if you light it every day, that's also called constant. But the fact is you have to answer that question, because every evening is not constant. Constant means it just never goes out. The light is light. When the lights, the candles lit? First sentence says that they're from the evening to the morning. In other words, only in the nighttime are they lit. And the second sentence right after that, it says that they're lit constantly. It says both of them are true. The one that says from evening to morning, that's what's talking about dealing with your own egotism, your own false perception of yourself and of the world, and trying to bypass all that, to ignore that. That's what it means, the evening. First of all, you deal with the evening, namely all of your false egotistical ideas and feelings and urges and reactions and ideas that contradict God, contradict Judaism. You just feel I'm just a person like everybody else. That's the evening, that's darkness. Until morning, because when God made the world, he first of all made dark, and afterwards light. There should shine this light in your soul and the joy and Hashem little by little. And the main thing of the joy is from 2 points. Number one, you don't worry about the world. And the world, like they say, take it easy. The world doesn't affect you so much. You don't get so excited about the world and worried about what's going to happen. Worried about what? Like I tell you, I just heard these news about what's going on in Africa. Anyway, Africa. So most of the wars from the countries are anticipatory wars. In other words, they anticipate that the other guy's going to get them if they don't get the guy first. So therefore, everybody's is worried about what's going to be, even though it's not there yet. And so it shows that the world has such, everybody's suspicious and everybody hates everybody else. And the reason is we do that ourselves. I do that myself, right? All these negative thoughts and these bad anticipations. A person wins the lottery, $20 million. What does he think? Oh, somebody's going to steal it from me. He gets all worried. He's miserable, right? It's better if he wouldn't win. He gets divorced from his wife. He leaves his kids all turned against him. He turns against his kids. He's suspicious of everybody, right? Should have never won because people have their own egotism becomes so big that it becomes God. They think that that's what keeps them alive and that's what protects them and that's going to answer all their problems and that's going to. But the fact of the matter is God is keeping us alive and God is answering our problems. And God wants us to be his partners for sure. He says, but to get rid of this false ego, God wants us to have an ego. He wants us to be individuals and to be unique and to utilize our potential. But as long as we're too egotistical, it's not going to work. So that's the whole idea of prayer. The idea of prayer is, first of all, getting rid of the bad things. That's what it means from the evening into getting rid of the false ideas. And yes, thinking about positive ideas about God, about how great God is. Saying the Psalms, the Psalms of King David first. That's called Pesuki de Zimra. Pesuki de Zimra also means, Zimra means to cut off the bad thing. But that's called preparing the lights. But Hadlakas is what about lighting the lights? What about, you got everything prepared, right? You got rid of the bad stuff, and you're thinking about the good stuff, but to actually get inspired, to actually feel this love, this is also by Aaron. Aaron also does this, and this has to be with pure oil. What is this pure oil? It's oil that comes from an olive that's crushed. Kedeita, like it says in the Mishnah, kotesh benoten letoch asal. He crushes it and he puts it in a basket. It says a rishon, the first little drop that comes out, you squeeze the olive. The first little drop that comes out goes to the menorah. That's what we're talking about here. That goes to the menorah, lighting the menorah in the temple. Vashar, and the rest of the oil that's in the olive, menuchos, goes to the offerings on the altar. The inyan is like this. Ki inyan hazayit. But you have to bring olive oil. What is an olive? An olive itself is bitter. Go to a tree. I tried it once. I had a tree in front of our house. Beautiful purple olives, deep purple olives. I'm not such a big fan of olives in any case, but they were so nice. I'm not against olives. I have nothing against olives. I was okay. So I figured, well, I'll taste one of the olives. So I took one of the olives off the tree. I didn't know you have to prepare the olives. I had no idea you have to prepare. I'm not a big olive fan anyway. So I did it. So I took the olive off and I bit into the olive. I bit into I made a blessing even. I made a bit into it. It was terrible. It was just awful. I mean, it's just, you ever eat an olive? It's bitter. And said, you have to prepare it. You have to put it into salt. Somebody once told me how to do it. I never did it, but that's what you have to do. Okay. Ukamo sha'omru, like it says, Hayona, like when Noah sent a dove out of the ark. So it came back with alizayat tarov bapia. It came back with an olive leaf in its mouth. And from that was a sign that the world had started to dry up, because before that, the water covered over all the trees. So it came back with an olive leaf, leaf in its mouth. It says, Yiyu mizono tai. Why an olive leaf? It says that it's better that my livelihood should be bitter like a olive, but it should come from me, then it should be sweet and come from God. And I'd rather work on my own and earn the money than to receive money for free. The point is that olives are bitter. Bagam Omru, but Gemara also says in the Gemara, She Hazayat, that an olive, Mishkachas Talmudo, that it makes a person forget the learning of 70 years. If you eat an olive, then olives make you forget your learning. Why does it do that? It says because shehu mibechinas olam hashikha, because olives are bitter, and the bitterness as they are without treating them, they're bitter, and that comes from the world of forgetfulness. Shehi ma'olma klippas, which that comes from klippas, something bad. Really, people shouldn't forget anything. You have to, like the Lubavitcher Rebbe, remembered everything. You remembered every conversation with every person that went by him, everybody's name. Remember that. Why? Because there was no egotism there. There was no egotism. Just remembered everything. Hainu inyan haguf. That's the idea of the body and the animal soul. She minoga, which comes from noga. Umashcha dechavi. That's called the hide of the serpent. Kochimoto. You can crush it up. This bitter, terrible thing, which indicates on bad, the olives, you crush it up and you take from this, you take oil. What's oil? That's what's called chachma. Chachma is the highest level of, I want to call it life, pure life, chachma. That's the highest of the 10 sfirot of God. Kamayim Razal, like the rabbis say, Kashem, just like the olive, mishkeach, it makes forgetting, mashachach, it forgets, makes a person forget his learning of 70 years. Also, I've never seen this happen. A person eating an olive, and all of a sudden forgetting everything he learned, for 7 years. But nevertheless, it says that in the Gemara, that it has the power to do that. Luckily, it doesn't do it, but it has the power. An olive, you're not supposed to eat olives without oil on them, just olives. It says just like olives make a person forget the learning of 70 years. Kach shemen zayed, also the oil of olives, machzir, it returns back the learning of 70 years. So I guess most olives have a little oil in them. So ki chachma, because this level of chachma, that's the oil in them. This is moach hazikaron. This is the power to remember that everything that happens, you realize, is infinite and meaningful. So everything becomes infinite and meaningful. That's what the olive oil does. The oil, okay. Now in the temple there was no olive offerings, but there was oil offerings, and this oil offerings was there was on the altar also. Shem and Zayat Hin, it says you should offer up all oil with almost all the sacrifices. But also the main thing of the oil was that it was used for the menorah. Kafi. Let's see. Oh, it says Ki Chachma is from Zichron. Kamosh Katuv, like it says in the explanation of Kodesh, the word Kodesh. The thing is holy. Holiness is a synonym for Chachma. Chachma means pure life, above understanding. Being is understanding. Chachma is above understanding. Pure reality, life. That's Kodesh, that's holiness. That's Sheromezet, there's hints at Chachma, at this high aspect of Chachma, with the Zikron, and for remembering. Why does a person forget anything? Because really everything that happens really is eternal. Everything that happens, everything a person does, that's the whole idea of you're going to heaven, you get punished from the things you did. But I forget it. You did a bad thing, forget it. What do you care? It went. No, everything you do, good or bad, is eternal. And you don't see this, a person doesn't see it until after he dies. But nevertheless, that's the fact. But some people can see it, even right now, and that's the idea of Chachma. Chachma means seeing the infinity, the true life, unlimitedness in everything. That's what it means. That's what the tefillin are, a zikron beinenecha, a remembrance between your eyes. So you see that really this world, this physical world, is infinitely more meaningful and eternal. Everything you do, everything you say, everything is more meaningful and eternal and true than you can possibly imagine. And that's what Chachma is. That's what the holiness. And eventually the whole world is going to be holy. We'll see that everything we do is really very meaningful, no matter what you do. The Katisha, that's the idea of crushing up the olive. Means that you have to force yourself force your sitra achra, force your egotism, al yadei, by means of l'she'erit nachalato, by making yourself like a, what's it called, an extra, like a remainder. Shemasim atmo kishirayim. You make yourself like leftovers. In other words, what's our big problem? Everybody thinks they're more important than they really are. In other words, you think that you're important. Everybody thinks they're really important according to my standards. According to my standards, I'm really important. According to the world's standards, I'm really important. People don't know how important I am. That's how you get crime, how you get this, egotism, destruction, anger, addictions, because people think they misjudge themselves. They say misinterpret themselves. People think that they're God. This is a bitter mistake. That's like olives. That's like an olive. The bitterness of it. But when it's crushed, comes out a really good thing. It says we have to crush ourselves. What do you mean you crush yourself? You crush your egotism. You crush your selfishness. You make yourself like something extra, right? I didn't win, big deal. I'm not number one, it's no big deal. Somebody else, he got the prize, let him get the prize, right? I'm just trying to do what God wants. I have a business. My next door neighbor earns, the store next to me earns twice as much, 10 times as much. Okay, I'll try to make a better business. I'll try to do this. But if not, it's not the end of the world. I'm not in competition with anyone. I'm not trying to find favor in anyone's eyes, only in God's eyes. And hopefully, if I find favor in God's eyes, people will like me. That's a nice thing. But if they don't like me because of what I do, let's say I decide to be a religious Jew, nobody else is religious. Okay, you know, what can I do? I would like it if everybody liked me. I'm not going. That's what it means. You make yourself like you're an extra, like you're leftovers. You're leftovers. It's good that I have anything. This level is hamachnat kol ratzonos. This, and he humbles, puts down all of your desires. Shelo yelo chefetz v'ratzon acher la'atzmo, for anything for himself. La'anos lisanig b'tainug b'nei adam, to get pleasures from this world. And you won't run after pleasures at all. In other words, to be rich, wonderful. To dress nice, fantastic. To have a beautiful house, great. Right? To have a big family, to have all these, those are really wonderful things. Those are good things. What if I don't get them? Okay, that's what Hashem wants. That's not, I would like it if I had it. It's a good thing. But if not, Hashem knows what's best for me. Hashem knows what's best. In fact, I'm just lucky God is creating me, right? I'm lucky I'm alive. Right? A person that God forbid, lost a leg. At least I still have one leg. He lost both legs, God forbid. At least I have 2 arms. I just saw yesterday the soldier, one of the Israeli soldiers, that there was an explosion and he lost both arms and legs. Both arms and legs. And there was a picture of him smiling. And this. He said, first of all, Baruch Hashem, I had arms and legs. I did things with them. There's people that don't never had them at all. Not only that, thank God I use them for a good purpose. Some people have arms and legs and they don't use it for any purpose whatsoever. I saved Jewish lives. I protected the people. And not only that, I can do other things. Baruch Hashem, I still have a head. I still have eyes. Right? If I get miserable, then I won't use my eyes properly. I won't use my mind properly. In other words, I don't deserve to be alive at all. I'm lucky that I'm even here. Whatever I have, I should make the most of. That's called making yourself like an extra. That's called crushing yourself. That's called crushing the olive. Because a person makes himself like leftovers, or most of us in something like extra. Ba'olam, in the world, ki'ilu ein lo tzorich ba'olam kol, is as though that he has no purpose in the world at all. In other words, like I said, I'm just lucky that I'm here. Uma lo olam, that I want to have more. I should have more. I should be miserable. I don't. Now you should understand that God provides always what we need, but not what we want. And sometimes what we want will take away what we need. As the story, I think I told you the story before, a dog finds a nice big bone, and he's walking with the bone, and he goes over a bridge, and it happens if he looks in the water and sees his reflection. What does he see in the water? He sees a dog very similar to himself, and he's got also a bone in his mouth, but the bone is bigger than his bone. So it seems to him. So he thinks to himself, what does this dog deserve a bigger bone than me? And he grabs for the bone in the water. And of course, the bone that he's got, he loses. And the bone that he wants was never there anyway. So he obviously doesn't get that. So he doesn't get anything. Same way people that are jealous. Here we have Haman and Purim, right? He was the king of the world, basically. He was the world, and he couldn't stand it if there was a Jew, just couldn't stand the Jews. He was willing to destroy everything, right, for the sake of something that wasn't his. It was. So the other thing is, if we're happy with what we've got, not necessarily have to be satisfied with what you've got. You should always want more, of course, but you have to be happy with whatever you have. Then you feel, and not, how can you be happy? By saying, listen, I'm lucky I'm even alive. So what do I care about what I get, how much money I get? I would like to have, but that's not me. Therefore, therefore, he's not thinking about not this world and not the world to come. That's the big novelty of Judaism. Don't think about heaven. Don't think about anything you're going to get. Like it says, Mili b'shamayim. Like it says, it says the leftovers of Yaakov will be among the nations. It says afterwards, then your hand will be elevated on your enemies. And all of your enemies will be cut off. When the Jewish people are humble, they can defeat all their enemies. Why are they defeating their enemies? Because they're not their enemies. They're the enemies of God. They're the enemies of the creator of the universe. These are evil people. Why are they called the leftovers of Yaakov? Because they make themselves like leftovers. In other words, they're not really necessary. I'm just lucky I'm still here. But who machrit v'yarem yado, this cuts off the bad and elevates his hand on the enemies. With the highness of God in their throats, and then there's what's called the double-edged sword in their hand, the galus romos, to reveal the greatness of God on his soul, which is not the case if a person is a yesh, that he thinks that he is God, as ani behu yochol l'dor. Then, like the dog with the bone in his mouth, God wanted to give this dog a bone, but the dog, because of his own egotism and his own selfishness, he lost even what God gave him. And the same thing is with us, a person that God gives you a little bit, you're not happy with that, so you even lose that. Only in somebody who's secondary to him. You could take an example, all these rock and roll stars and all these movie stars and all these people, and everybody looks at them and they're glamorous and their teeth are shining and their eyes are shining and there's taking pictures of them and they earn, they live in $100 million houses and everything like that. And they're miserable people. They're miserable. They're just not happy people. And if somebody else has more money than them, then they're jealous of that person and they're always fighting. And there's and once in a while, you get one of them that he gets married, he has one wife, and he's faithful to his wife, and he has a wonderful family, and he's really happy. He's really happy. Instead of running around and trying to get into paper, somebody takes a picture, wonderful, takes a picture, right? But he's not interested in glamour or glory. But if he receives it, it's not a bad thing. The same thing with us. If a person wants more than God gives him, if he lusts for what, then he doesn't even appreciate what he has. I know that's what's called chachma. That's what's called chachma. He gets to the essence of life. Hu b'chinas shemen. This is the oil, hanasa al yedei katisha, which is by means of crushing up the olive. Shashemen hu shenimshach achra petila. The oil is drawn after the wick. V'niklal v'nisraf, and everything is burned up into the light, which is the flame, which is on the wick. Shalunisha, there's nothing remains whatsoever of the oil at all, which is not the case. The wick, there's a little tiny bit of black on the end of the lid, but the oil is burnt up totally. That's the whole idea of chachma. The chachma is chachma bittul. You surrender yourself totally to God. You say, I'm lucky I'm even here. I'm lucky that God is creating me. I should appreciate everything God gives me and use it to the utmost. Nichla mamish ba'or ner shel mitzvah of the mitzvah. Zu liot giloy or ensof, that there should be revealed godliness on his soul. And by means of this, then godliness is revealed on his soul, and it's drawn from the commandments. So all these people that have riches, Nebuchadnezzar, whatever, he ruled over the whole world. What's left of him? Absolutely nothing. Just a bad name. He gets anything out of it. Right, Napoleon, all these people. What does Napoleon himself get out of it? What does his soul get out of it? Absolutely nothing. Right? What did he do? He did something good? Nothing good. On the other hand, a simple Jew, or a simple human being that does what God wants, that action is eternal. And it's eternal for good. Because the relation is not because between you and everyone else, because in the end, right, I'm going to die, and everybody that I impressed is also going to die. So, but if what I do is my relation, my connection between me and God, so the deed that I did is eternal, and God, of course, is eternal. So it's eternal. Which is not the case if there's not this oil. That's oil. We're talking about this infinite awareness of the infiniteness of the Creator and the goodness of the Creator, that He's creating me from nothing. This oil, if I don't have this oil to surrender to the how do you say, appreciation that God is creating me, if I don't have this, hari ein or haner mitkayem al patila, then there won't be any flame alone. Ella doleket meher, then the wick will burn up quickly and it'll go away. That's the service of Aaron. Aaron, he arranged the lamps and he lit up the lamps. And this is this, namely, he lit up the lamps with the joy of the commandments. This is all done outside of the parochet. This is all done outside of the veil. And what is the veil? It says, it's on the outside of the veil. It didn't do this in the room where the Holy of Holies was. It was the room outside of the Holy of Holies. That section where was outside, that was called the Holy, the Kodesh. It was called the Ohel Moed. What's it called? That's outside. And what is this veil that separates between the Holy of Holies and the Holy? Aaron was in the Holy. This idea of this veil, this is like it says, Shemesh u'Magin Hashem Elokim. It says that God is a sun and a shield over the sun. Shem Havaya, the name of God, is Yehuda Eloah. That's the upper unity of God. How that there's nothing except for God. All there is Hashem. That's the truth. But the name Elokim, this is the creation that God makes, and He wants us to feel separate. This conceals and hides over godliness, that the world appears to be something separate. That's what's called on the other side of the veil, the outside of the veil. The world seems to be real. The world seems to be something on its own. Nevertheless, we say, nevertheless, we realize that the whole world is filled with the glory of God. That's called the lower unity of God. Okay, so what divides between the pure oneness of God and feeling the truth that God is really creating everything, and what's called the lower unity of God, which is the world is really real, but intellectually I understand that it's not so. That God is really created. But what do I feel? I feel the world. That's called the lower unity. That's outside of this veil. That's outside of where the Holy of Holies is. And the inside of the Holy of Holies, that's feeling, looking at the world from God's point of view. That's God's point of view. That's the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. And the world, that's Elokim. This world of Elokim, it says this is a shield over the name of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, which is like the sun. Just like the atmosphere hides over the sun, that you can't look at it. And this we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. I know we're almost at the end. Oh, no, we are at the end. Kamol Mugin shows that like the atmosphere that covers over the sun, that because of this, you can't look at the sun. Without it, it's impossible to look at the sun because the sun is so bright. So that's where Aaron lights the candles. Where does he light the candles? Outside of the veil, in the world where God is concealed. That's the idea of Aaron lighting it up. And the menorah over here, the lamp, that's talking about the Jewish people. And we'll talk about this. We'll make a little bit of a summary of it tomorrow, because this is a workbook. This is telling us what we are supposed to do. me and you, about thinking about God and trying to remove our attachment to our own misconceptions of the world, of our own egotism, false egotism, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Let us now learn the Devar. Stop recording. That doesn't stop. Okay.